All right, everyone. So our final speaker for today is Katherine Walter from, actually I'm going to, Alrighty, everyone. Our final speaker for the day is Katherine Walter, Professor and Chair of Digital Initiatives and Special Collections at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Katherine is responsible for coordinating the Archives and Special Collections, e-text, and scholarly communication units at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln Libraries. She also co-directs the Center for Digital Research in the Humanities, co-chairs CenterNet, is a voting representative on the Alliance of Digital Humanities Organizations Steering Committee, is chair of the State Humanities Council, represents UNL on the Humanities Without Walls Consortium, and in her spare time, she co-chairs the Big Ten Academic Alliance's CIC Digital Humanities Committee. Thanks again, Katherine, for joining us, and over to you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for inviting me to speak at the virtual conference. Christina suggested that I talk about digital humanities generally, and then about the Center for Digital Research more specifically, and so that is what I'm going to do. In this slide, I provide a common definition and some examples of humanistic disciplines, but particularly I wanted to draw your attention to the fact that many disciplines considered to be outside of the humanities, such as science, may in fact connect rather well to certain aspects of humanistic study, such as in Birds of Nebraska, one of our digital projects, where there are reports of 19th century digital newspaper birding columns in the Omaha World Herald that are being used today to compare with birding counts. And in Casting Digital Nets, where there was a study done of historical ecological issues caused by introduction of bass into a lake in South Dakota that boomed tourism and adversely affected a Native American community on the lake and its traditions. Humanities essentially relates to branches of learning concerned with human thought and relations, but it may be much broader than we oftentimes think of it. For the purposes of this talk, I will be using the following definition of digital humanities: humanistic inquiry conducted through computational means. It is inherently, some say radically, interdisciplinary and collaborative. Steve Ramsey, in his book Reading Machines, describes this in this way. Quote, what brought people together from a startlingly diverse set of disciplines and professional roles was the shift from criticism to creation, from writing to coding, from book to tool. Humanities computing had its theorists, its administrators, its teachers, and its historians, but nearly everyone in the field was involved one way or another with building something. So, from my work with CenterNet, an international network of digital humanities centers, I can say that digital humanities is quite varied in the number of disciplines and the methodologies used. The existence or lack of existence of cyber infrastructure, by which I mean foundational things like electricity, fiber optic cable, servers and staff, such as server administrators, programmers, and designers, also makes a difference in how prevalent digital humanities might be in a particular country. There are differences in various countries because of the funding streams. For example, the European Union tends to fund large cyber infrastructure projects like DARIN or Clarin, and the Canada Foundation for Innovation tends to fund labs or infrastructure that supports the work of particular scholars. In the United States and Canada, there seems to be more funding for research projects themselves through the National Endowment for the Humanities and the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science, and Technology, also known as MEXT, a Japanese government funding agency. Developing nations, which may not have as much infrastructure or bandwidth, have had successes with mobile technologies. If you're interested in conferences relating to digital humanities, there are many listed on this slide, and among the ones listed is the annual Digital Humanities Conference, which is the largest and most important of the conferences. It belongs to the Alliance of Digital Humanities Organizations, or ADHO, and is held in different cities around the world. This summer it will be in Krakow, Poland. Other educational opportunities are available through HILT, DHSI, Haystack, and others that you see on this slide. As digital humanities has developed over time, it has broadened. 20 or so years ago, much of the work was textually based. In humanities computing was most likely to be found in an English or a computer sciences department. The Text Encoding Initiative, or TEI Consortium, was contributing to the development of standards for the encoding of text, and standards for markup were changing from HTML to XML. Soon thereafter, encoded archival description and other library-related standards began to be developed. Within the last 10 years, the field has changed remarkably. There are many more methods associated with digital humanities, more emphasis on sustainability of text, and greater understanding of the role of good metadata in sustainability, and much more emphasis on images and the use of the RA Core or Dublin Core. Linked open data, as mentioned by Corey Lampert, is also coming into its own, especially thanks to the Europeana project on World War I, or the Great War from 1914 to 1918. R and topic modeling have gained in popularity, especially for use of 20th century projects that involve non-expressive use of data from modern texts. Digital repositories such as HathiTrust and DeepLA have the potential to change scholarship. Another change happening at the same time is that granting agencies in many countries are far more likely to fund collaborative grants than grants to single institutions. And funding categories have changed in part because of digital humanities. If you are interested in knowing more about digital humanities, I would encourage you to read some of the text noted here. The list is just the tip of the iceberg, and you may want to join a listserv like Humanist or track some of the blogs or tweets of people like Tanya Clement at the University of Texas at Austin or Sarah Potvin at Texas A&M. Okay, in this second phase of the presentation, I'm going to describe the Center for Digital Research in the Humanities. And on this slide, it talks about our long horizon. So briefly, in the mid-1990s, the College of Arts and Sciences and the UNL libraries joined to form a unit called eText to work with humanities faculty on scholarly projects. And that, from the beginning, was located in the libraries, but the libraries did not do wholesale digitization of text or images. Pretty much it was focused in on working collaboratively with scholars. In 2004, eText was named what is called here a Program of Excellence. It's an honor that comes with state funding, and in our case, we received a fairly large amount for the first 5 years. In 2005, it was approved as a formal center of the university by the Board of Regents and the Nebraska Post-Secondary Education Commission, and at the same time was renamed the Center for Digital Research in the Humanities, which we oftentimes call CDRH. It is a joint initiative of the UNL Libraries and the UNL College of Arts and Sciences, and there are 2 directors, one from each college. So my co-director is Ken Price, who is also the co-director of the Walt Whitman Archive. As a Vice Chancellor for Research Approved Center, it is heavily involved in grant-funded projects, often with other universities, particularly Big Ten universities and Research One institutions. For all our projects, whether funded through the government or not, research teams are established to address research questions, in part through the use of technologies. So this just very quickly notes some of the federal funding that we have received from NEH, IMLS, and National Historical Publications and Records Commission. CDRH has had research projects with over 85 faculty from 13 departments and 5 colleges at UNL, as well as working with other universities. Over 200 students have served on research teams in the center. When CDRH began, most of its work was related to 19th century American studies, and a lot of it was centered around creation of archives, such as the Willa Cather Archive, the William F. Cody Archive, and the Walt Whitman Archive. Increasingly, we are doing research on other time periods and other cultures. We still use TEI and XML, and in fact have worked with the TEI Council on changes to the TEI, such as TEI simple and diachronic markup of genetic texts. A cluster search was conducted from 2011 through 2013 that resulted in hires of faculty in archaeology, mapping, and data mining. Consequently, our methodologies have had to change in order to address different research questions. Another change for the center is that students working on research teams and in the center itself began to request classes or independent study in digital humanities. This has led to development of a graduate certificate in digital humanities that's cross-listed among the departments of modern languages and literatures, English, history, and anthropology, and a DH minor at the undergraduate level. It has also prompted us to apply to the National Endowment for Humanities for Challenge Grant funding to raise an endowment to mentor the next generation of humanities scholars. Through the interest in the endowment, UNL is able to offer graduate research assistantships and graduate internships in the center itself. While graduate research assistants must be UNL students, internships can be offered more widely. In January 2017, we will be advertising a named postdoctoral fellowship for the 2017-2018 academic year, also made possible through the NEH funding endowment. Finally, graduate students at UNL can compete to be part of the Digital Scholarship Incubator. Typically, 3 to 4 UNL students are selected to develop or enhance their own digital research projects. These students form a cohort and receive funding or equipment or training to support their own work. Finally, the NEH Endowment supports the Nebraska Forum on Digital Humanities, a thematic 1.5-day exploration of issues in digital scholarship. Listed on this slide are some of the topics, and as you can see, it is a wide range. The opening events feature senior speakers, and the full day showcases the work of early career scholars, by which I mean pre-tenure faculty, postdoctoral fellows, and advanced graduate students. This has been a quick overview of digital humanities trends and a look at the Center for Digital Research in the Humanities. I would encourage you to go to this link, cdrh.unl.edu, to look at examples of digital humanities research projects. At least 4 were noted by the NEH last summer as ones that were among the top 50 in their 50-year history. These were our contributions to Chronicling America, and I was really interested in Louisa Trout's presentation for that reason. The Journals of the Lewis and Clark Expedition online, Livingston Online, and the William F. Cody project that concerns Buffalo Bill. All of these CDRH projects have visual materials on them, photographs, sometimes films, audio. And one in particular I should mention is called Oh Say Can You See, that uses RDF and OWL to create visualizations of the relationships between slave communities and legal communities in Washington, D.C. during the early 19th century. very interesting work that's being done by Will Thomas and the technologists here in the center. So I think that concludes my remarks, and I would be happy to answer questions.
As usual, everyone, feel free to grab the mic or chat any questions. We will advance the slide so folks can write down the contact information. Katherine, I actually had a question for you.
Okay.
You mentioned I hope that's okay, the graduate certificate in digital humanities, and you said that it was being cross-listed across 2 different humanities disciplines.
Actually,
I was just curious,
4.
is it? Oh, 4, okay.
Yeah.
Is this certificate, the sort of course requirements for that, or sort of what my question, I guess, is focused on? Is it methodologically focused, technology focused? And to go back to your definition of digital humanities, do you require coding when people try to get that certificate?
Okay, I'll describe it. 6 of the 12 hours are required, and they start out with a readings course, and that readings course has to do with digital humanities, but it may have a particular flavor in a particular department. So for example, if somebody is taking a history course, the readings might be more related to history in digital history, whereas if it is in English or in modern languages and literatures, it might have more to do with literary criticism and digital humanities. And then the second required course is what's called a digital humanities practicum. And in that, students are grouped into teams that work with a nonprofit which has a particular problem or need. So for example, one of the first groups that one of the teams worked with was Humanities Nebraska, actually, which is our state humanities council. And for Humanities Nebraska, what they developed were phone apps for literary tours around the state. And it was fascinating because the students had never done anything like that before, and it turned out very well. They did it first for Android, and then later one of the students was hired to work on a version for the iPhone. The other courses are electives that can be taken in any of the particular departments, perhaps relating specifically to the program of the graduate student.
Yes,
great, thank you.
I have a question for Katherine, Jeremy.
Okay.
Thanks for your talk, Katherine. I wanted to ask you how often do you have a strong history for postdoc research in the digital humanities as we do in life sciences, or after graduate, the student graduate, they go directly into academy or to work at different positions like in libraries or not-for-profit organizations?
Well, I would say that we've had very good placement, and it's been all over the place. We've had people who have gone into tenure-track faculty positions. We've had people who decided they wanted to go on for a library degree. We've had people who decided that they wanted to start their own business. So it's a very wide-ranging.
Okay, it looks like we have at least one person's typing.
Okay.
So we'll just hold on 1 second. Is the certificate on? Oh, sorry, you can read. Sorry.
Okay. The certificate is not online. It is on site. We've talked about it a lot, but really part of the issue with digital humanities is it's meant to be highly collaborative and interdisciplinary, and it really helps to have people working together, and oftentimes people from different departments.
Any other questions for Katherine? All right, well, I'm not seeing any for now, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this final presentation of today. Thank you again, Katherine, and thanks everyone for the great questions.
Thank you.